everybody.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah,
We're
know.
here.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Established Facts podcast. Hope you guys are doing well, taking care of yourselves. How's everybody at the table?
Good.
Great.
Good.
Yeah, doing all right. Okay, cool. Well, as you guys can see, we have several people, maybe a face or two that you don't know, unless you don't know any of us, and then welcome to the podcast. This is the Established Facts. Welcome to episode 244 of the Established Facts. 12 years in the making. It only took us this long to get to 244 episodes. We'll see what happens from there.
It's a good number, though.
Well, I hope you guys are doing well. Man, I feel like our energy is a little. We're gonna have to pep it up a little bit.
I think we're going to have to.
Okay.
I think we're going to. I mean,
Aren't you supposed to open with
it's going to
a joke?
happen.
Am I supposed to open with?
I
a
don't
joke?
know.
Okay. It's like I don't remember us ever doing that. I think typically. Oh wow, that hurts. That hurts a little bit.
A little bit.
Anyhow, before we get into our discussion, we are actually joined here by a couple of incredible creators and friends of ours with Accidental Apocalypse. No, those are always on
That's
purpose.
how they usually occur.
Accidental Cyclops, that's right. So we're going to go around the table, talk a little bit about some of their projects, and just have a little bit of fun on the mics. Does that sound okay, guys?
Yes.
Cool. We'll start to my left.
This is Princess Katie.
You get a title?
Yeah.
You can have a title.
Yeah, I made my own up.
You could be king for a day.
Chief Cyclops.
Chief
Jason
Cyclops. There you go.
There you go.
Chief
That's perfect.
Cyclops.
That's
Jason
perfect.
Ward.
I'm just Piercy.
There you go.
This is Josh.
And of course, I'm your host, Big Don. So, as you got a chance to see, we have Chief Cyclops, Jason Ward, and Piercy. They are two of the three members of the creative team for Faith No More's role-playing games. Last year, you guys had an incredible showing on your backerkit, correct? Did you guys do it on Kickstarter?
Kickstarter,
It's Kickstarter last year, and then this year you guys are going to do it on backerkit.
Yep.
Correct.
That's right.
Awesome. So I guess let's get into talking a little bit about the project. If you want to talk about how the real thing went at first and kind of where you're going to go from there, that'd be cool. Jason,
Sure.
you
Yeah.
mind? Jason?
Yeah, I'll go by Ward.
Ward? That sounds great. That sounds great.
Yeah, so the real thing landed really well. We were pretty shocked. I think we set our
Definitely.
goal somewhere around $10,000.
We're like,
and
we'll see if we get that.
yeah, we'll see. And we did. We did very well. I think we ended up with about 1,200% of our funding goal. That's the number I remember that's sticking in my head. So very successful. I mean, we can obviously attribute that to linking it to a known property that is just well loved, right? Who doesn't love some Faith No More when it comes on the radio? And yeah, so it was a really good program. We liked the campaign. We had fun doing it. I don't know what else to say. Like people seem to like the game, which is also great. That's
Yeah, that
even
was-
better.
Like we were talking on another interview the other day, and I didn't realize this. And you're like, yeah, some people got it. Like, oh, this is actually a good game too, not just a kitsch thing. It was
Yeah.
like, yay,
Yeah.
they like our stuff. That's great.
Yeah, most of the commentary from people who are gamers, not just fans, has been,
Yep.
oh, this is actually a pretty darn good game.
Yep.
And, I mean, that shows you their expectations were pretty low, which is kind of a bummer, but at the same time, we exceeded them. So that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that you guys have a pretty cool advantage and situation right now and we've talked a couple of times on the podcast about how it seems like these larger brand game developers have kind of started to loosen a little bit of their morals, if you will, or maybe their target. They're not as focused, I think, on the demographic of gamers. So I think that a lot of people who are into gaming, role-play games especially, people are looking for alternatives.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They're looking for something that's a little different, or and we actually got a chance. Joshie and I got a chance to play. Jason ran a game with a couple of other podcasters, which is a really fun collab. But it seems very, and I really love this, but it seems very. If you have not gotten a chance to play, kind of rules light, like Powered by the Apocalypse is a little bit more of a rules light system, which is great. Yeah. And then there is a ton of room for actual like role play and story development, character development. So if you're looking for something, and I would like to I would definitely like to sit down and play with you guys again, because I think I'd like to see what kind of like a more combat heavy game might look like in comparison to a more role play heavy game, just to kind of see where that balance is. But I agree. I think that what you guys produced with the real thing was pleasantly surprisingly well done, and you can definitely tell that you guys have really poured your heart into the passion behind it. And so you guys have a backer kit that starts when?
The 24th of July.
24th of July. Okay.
And it will run for 3 weeks, I think is right.
August 15th is the
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so 3 weeks.
So with backer kit, different than Kickstarter, do you still set like an overall goal, or what does
yeah,
that
it's
look
almost
like?
identical.
Okay.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about why we switched.
Yeah.
We used backerkit last time for fulfillment, so we already had
Okay.
everybody who backed the first project from Kickstarter in our backerkit system, which made it nice and easy to reach back out to that other group of people, or that previously existing group of people. BackerKit's also running some of our marketing for us. So
Okay.
they have great reach. They're really good with the Facebook marketing and things like that, where we're weaker. We make games, and so we're getting some help in the other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice being a creative and having support
Yeah.
from other people. Like, oh, I can just create. This is kind of, well, I know that you're a little more bogged down than.
I'm doing some of the project management part,
Yeah.
which is kind of a bummer at times. But once we get through the campaign, a lot of that lightens up, and we get to dive right back into the
Right.
which is great. So yeah, BackerKit is where we're going to be publishing from. They won't see users won't see a difference really. The pledge mechanisms are all the same. We set the same sort of targets. We have pledge levels. We have add-ons. All that stuff is going to be very familiar to people who backed on the Kickstarter.
Okay.
So the first game, the real thing, was very, at least the one that we played, had that post-apocalyptic, werewolves and vampires and grungy type.
And it was really just a drug trip.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Are we looking at the same kind of genre here, or is it expanding? What are we looking at from a
We
theme?
pretty much stay within the same 90s grungy and a little bit of noir added to it sort of themes. It goes. We shy away a little bit from the supernatural, at least as far as the characters. The elements are still there, right? But really, for Angel Dust, you are now this group, and you can take the same characters that you had beforehand and played in this, or have completely new characters, and you're working under a specific group. And through that, you have a few different ways you can go in this scenario, again, much like the last one, but it's even more open up. It's like, consider the last one was very much a small sandbox. The sandbox for Angel Dust grows to like your entire city, right? Mm-hmm. And the characters will be making up locations and their discoveries, and they're not really, they know who they are now, right? So the discoveries are more about who are you in this place, and what does that connect to in the wider world. And then as you go through the scenario, you get deeper into the organization, and then it transitions over to King for a Day, and that becomes much more about your influence on a region and what you are to. It gets a little more supernatural in King for a Day, actually. We go back to that thing, but we try to keep it within the grungy kind of 90s feel noir. It should stay the same, because we think that's just a really good place to be for this, and it feels right. It would feel a little weird to just automatically switch it, but if we hit certain stretch goals, we definitely have different campaign starters and ideas to throw at people that are not that they're still very well within the themes of Faith and More, and very well, a well put together little like one shots or campaign starters. Yeah. So that's kind of the idea there.
And it's worth noting each of the books, each of the three of them, The Real Thing, Angel Dust, and King for a Day, comes in two parts. There's the sandbox about the systems and rules and how to run your own game in the system. And that starts with The Real Thing. You run sort of those walled gardens, small scenarios that are a handful of sessions long. It opens up with Angel Dust and says, okay, how do we build a longer campaign that maybe goes across a region or a city? And with King for a Day, you introduce the supernatural or magical or mystical elements to sort of broaden it beyond the nature of the reality you're used to.
Right.
And then each book's second part is a prepackaged adventure based on the themes of Faith No More from each of those albums. And so when we talk about the books, you're going to hear us primarily talking about the prepackaged adventures based on the Faith No More material, but understand that the first third or half of each book is actually rule sets for building your own campaigns and running those inside the system.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Now, I know with the first project, with the real thing, you guys had a lot of really great support, not just support from like backers and stuff like that, but you had really good support from a lot of Faith No More, like in the manager and
Say a
like
little bit of.
a little bit.
The right amount of.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
and that's really all that
literally the
matters,
right amount of.
Yeah.
So have you guys experienced that same kind of at least like, you know, enthusiasm at the same level, or like has there been any sort of like reaching out to what with that relationship? What sort of like relationship have you guys been able to develop from then?
When we reached out to them originally, the plan was always, if the first one does well, we're doing all three.
Okay.
And so we got the go ahead out of the gate, which is great. So this is nothing new. It's not a surprise to them. That
Sure.
said, they're more hands off now.
Okay.
They understand what we're about. They understand what we're doing. I assume they trust us because they haven't said stop.
Yeah.
And the communication's been pretty light since then. I don't know if anyone follows the bands, but most of them are touring or making music with
Yeah.
other entities at this point in time.
Okay.
It's
Right.
pretty busy.
Okay.
You've got Roddy Bottoms with Man on Man. I think Mike Borden's out touring with somebody right now, and I can't remember who. It might even be Ozzy. Is
It might
Ozzy
be.
touring
He
again?
he backs for Ozzy quite a bit.
Yeah, he
Like he
does.
drums for Ozzy quite a bit. And
Yeah.
because he's an awesome drummer.
Right.
So.
Right. And then you've got Mike Patton's out with Bungle right now, and so the band is staying busy.
Okay,
Their manager
okay.
is also the manager of Mastodon and some
And a
other
few other bands.
Okay.
So he's also super. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's busy. So
Okay.
they kind of wrote us a little bit of carte blanche, a little bit of blank check, and said, "You're good to go." They don't need to be hands on involved in any way whatsoever. At the same time, we do reach out periodically and just let them know where we're at with it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's
And
cool.
if they don't like it, they'll tell us.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yep.
Well, and I think that that's good. Like, I think when you are, especially when you're collaborating, you know, we have had a lot of fun with. Well, one of our favorite guests to have on the show is Tracy Hickman, which we're actually going to be hanging out with him before Gen Con and I think pretty soon as well in one of our next recordings. But it's really neat when you get a chance to see people who are creative when they're doing collabs, and maybe the IP that they're inspired by is not their own.
Yeah.
But then how that really changes the relationship with the people who are designing, with the consumers. And I know, it's in a slightly different genre, but I know for Josh and I, we have in the last 10 years been really close to a lot of the people who help plan and run like PopCon Indy and PopCon Louisville and stuff like that. And so it's been really interesting to kind of see how the sausage is made and then continue to develop those relationships with those people. And even if it's just, sporadic check-ins and stuff like that, like it's neat to know that the project that you're passionate about, that they're at least like, yeah, that sounds cool. Like,
Yeah.
go for it, So,
Yeah, it's nice to have the support, even if it's not something that they would have done themselves.
Right.
Given
Yeah.
time and energy. They, a lot of creators out there are like, "Oh, you really like my stuff, and you want to take it in a new direction. Great, let's see how we can do that."
that's very cool. That's
Yeah, and,
so
and you
go
never
ahead.
know,
Sorry.
like unless you try to reach out, you just never know, right?
Right.
They could say no, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Right. You just change your stuff and be like based on, or just don't even mention it. But when you do reach out and they say yes, then you just have the world opens up and you have a much more interesting interaction, and it's really cool. It's just really cool. So just if you're out there making games, just ask. There's no harm in asking.
Yeah. What's the worst that's going to happen?
They just
Right.
say no.
They say
That's
no,
it.
and yeah,
And
exactly.
you move on.
And
Yeah.
we could have made this without them giving the blessing. It could have been inspired by
Right.
something along, rather than officially based on, and we would have been fine doing that because that's just how creativity works. That's fine. You can say, "Oh, we were really inspired by Faith No More, and here's how we used them to develop this game." We were very lucky that they responded in the positive and said, "Yeah, let's do this."
Extremely, and even got to use their likeness in some of the NPCs and stuff like that. That's a super cool part that they said yes, and we were able to. They were okay with that type of stuff, so we can, in our like love of them way, include them pretty tightly in the project
Yeah.
and the story.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, I think a good bridge off of that. I don't know if this is anything we've ever really talked about, but there are a huge number of non-gamers that are Faith No More fans.
Oh, yeah.
That backed the campaign, and I hope 10% of them become gamers.
Yeah,
that
no
would be
kidding.
a big impact, right? If we get 1,000 people that were Faith No More fans that didn't play games before, and 100 of those are now into gaming in some way, that's awesome, especially for indie publishers and designers, because that's what we consider ourselves, obviously. And I think those are the folks that are going to stretch or push the envelope to make things like this and keep welcoming new people into the hobby.
Well, and for a system like Powered by the Apocalypse, more exposure is better in general. I mean, we just did our, revisiting the dumpster fire,
Yeah.
and how important it is to have alternative options when, weird things happen in this big industry. So to have an option like the real thing and what's coming, you said it was Angel Dust and
King for a Day.
King for a Day. See, I'm the opposite. I don't hardly know anything about Faith No More, but besides the fact that I want to support my friends, I'm inspired by this concept. I got a bunch of games up there that I'm just like, I want to support you. Are you ever going to play that game? I don't know, but I want to support you.
That's most of my shelf.
I think as gamers, that's the part of the hobby.
Yeah, it is. And eventually Half Price Books will get them and somebody else can enjoy them.
Or we'll all be in the old folks home just rolling dice. Like, we didn't play this when we were 30 or 40.
I never got around to playing Into the Odd. How do you guys feel about playing?
Right. Sure. I could die tomorrow. Let's do it.
Dust it off.
So I know that I don't think Katie has gotten a chance to play.
No, I'm
correct?
not.
Okay. So I guess for Ward, for Piercy, if you had the opportunity to, I guess, maybe give like a pitch or just a good understanding of kind of what a brand new person who had never been introduced to this would be like, Katie, what would be some of the information that you would give them that would be helpful for people maybe who have not gotten a chance to back this project and maybe they're looking for something that's local to support and stuff like that? What would be some things that you would highlight that would kind of push them a little bit past that fence of indecision?
Yeah, I have a couple. I'll focus on the mechanisms and the game design, and then
Okay.
Jason can talk about the story. That's kind of how we divide the work as well. We
There you
edit each
go.
other's
Yeah.
stuff, but that's how we divide a lot of the work. For me, it's a great game to jump into for two reasons. First off, it's super simple. You roll 2 dice. The storyteller never rolls dice. It's only you, and they react to what you do. So you're in control as a player. You dictate what's going to happen, and the narrator's job or storyteller's job is to tell you what the result of what you did was,
Okay.
which is great fun, right? It's a lot of yes and that's happening at the table. Secondly, the thing we added to Powered by the Apocalypse, or modified Powered the Apocalypse system with, is a system called Discovery, and it is really to help you and your friends around the table make characters as you play.
Okay.
And so you start off with a very simple just formula of creating a character. I'm this playbook, which means these 3 things. And that's how you start, with a few just indications of who you are. Like, I know that I am an artist, and I love to paint, and I have a brother. So those may be the things you know about yourself starting out. And through the course of play, session 0, session 1 through session 5, somewhere in that range, you are engaging with this discovery mechanism to flesh out that history as you advance your character. So making those discoveries and telling those stories about yourself in the past is what allows you to power up your character. at the same
Okay.
time. You're like, oh yeah, I remember I was a mathematical genius growing up, and everyone thought I was going to be an engineer. And then you tell a story about that and why you became an artist potentially instead, and that then empowers you to take this particular power over on your skill tree that relates to that in some way.
Okay.
I was really drawn by paint by numbers.
Yeah.
And just how
Turns out I actually liked the numbers. not
I
the painting.
enjoy the.
Yeah, and so for the story, it works very much off that discovery mechanic. So if we start with the real thing, you don't know who you are. You tell that story within the framework of, you're in a seedy underground,
Nightclub
nightclub
kinda,
party
yeah.
type thing, right? And what do you do in this scenario? Who do you ally with? There are a few different NPCs that will try to pull you in different directions. Do you do any of that? Do you do something completely different? And it's all fine, right? From there, going into Angel Dust, you've discovered yourself. You've been through this weird evening, and you kind of gotten out of whatever trouble you may have been in from that. But you sort of owe someone for that, and you're working for them and with them. So you go through this scenario of, well, what is it like to work under this person, under this corporation, essentially? And there are much different paths you can choose there, and it's all based upon some questions you answer in like the first scene that the group actually answers in the first scene, not just one character. So from that, you have a few different paths to choose. Whatever, or the storyteller puts you on, or narrator puts you on a different path. Whatever path that leads down, right? It comes to a confrontation with a rival in the end, and from there you discover things about who you're working for actually. And that will go into King for a Day, which the full title for the album is King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime. So that gives you any idea of what it's about, right? And we kind of use it as an allegory for power and like how people abuse power, and the 0.01% of the population that are mega powerful and mega rich, and like, is this good? Is this bad? Probably bad. And
We may lean that way.
we might lean that way, and things like that. So it brings that into question, but in a supernatural form, and you really delve into who this entity is and what they're really into, and do you side with him? Do you whack him? Do you like break away from them? Do you retain yourself, or do you become more monstrous? And we don't want to, in that story, we're not going to try to tell you what kind of monster you're becoming. You get to decide. You pick your different abilities. If you're losing your discoveries, you choose to lose a discovery instead to choose something monstrous.
To gain power.
Right.
Okay.
And that's what it is. Like that's where it is, the allegory. It's like you become less human as you gain more
Right.
power. You become less able to connect with others.
To empathize and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, we've all seen Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, or
He's not a human.
Yeah.
or any of them essentially.
Sure.
Not all, but most.
Once you cross the $1 billion threshold, there's
You
a
kind of
little
like,
bit
you're not a
oddity
regular
to you.
person anymore,
You're a
and that's
lizard
not
person.
necessarily okay.
no,
But it's not just about money either. It could be, well, regardless.
Whatever.
That's- so all that stuff aside, right? Like you're losing your humanity, you're losing yourself,
Right.
more or less, to become something other, and that's a choice you get to make whether you want to do that or not. You can still continue to mark discoveries and continue down the path of I know who I am, I'm here, and you get to watch your friends or the people you're with take this monstrous path maybe, and all the choices then become that conflict at the table. It doesn't have to be direct conflict like in action, but that role playing and inside conflict of what's right and what's wrong. And at the end, you decide how you go out into the world and how it ends. Like, am I the monster who's redeemed? Am I the monster who falls? Do you take it just
Am I the
That's-
person that rubs elbows with monsters? And
right?
is okay with
Exactly.
that?
Exactly. Like that's kind of the whole point. It's like there isn't. I think we really just wrote a choose your own adventure role playing game, which
Yeah.
they all should be.
Yeah.
But that's totally the idea. Is like there isn't a wrong answer. There isn't a right direction. It's just pick a direction and go with it, and everyone at the table, and you're never going to play through the same game twice. Or the same, even if you're playing the same scenario, it will not be the same game.
Right. That's cool. I mean, so I actually backed the game, but I never collected my reward because I don't run role-playing games. I just wanted
You're
to
one of those
support
people
the
that
project.
didn't fill out the survey.
Yeah, I just
so
wanted.
you just gave us
I just
money.
gave you guys money.
Well,
Like
that's
I-
awesome. Thank you.
That was the point. I was like, I'm not gonna use this because I don't run these things, and I knew everybody else bought a copy, and it's like if I want to play, literally all of my friends have a copy. So here, just take my money.
That is
Thank you.
true.
Well, we
That
should-
is
I was
true.
just like, I hope you guys make it, and then you guys made it.
Yeah,
You should.
we did.
oh,
Then thank you for that.
I'm smacking my
There's a
microphone
copy
over
right
here.
here.
I was gonna say you
Yeah, I
should.
mean, you can-
You gotta at least
You
get
wanna
the
go home with one of
sticker.
these?
You gotta at least get
Yeah,
the
like
sticker.
here.
We've got stuff.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Give
well,
it to a friend.
So, one thing that I kind of want to focus on too is with the expansion of this universe that is the Faith No More role playing system and the role playing world that you guys are building. You guys have started branching out not just in the allegory that is the albums and then the story behind it, but also like opportunities for people to be exposed to it. We were talking a little bit about you guys have got big plans for like Gen Con and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what have been a couple of really cool opportunities you've had since publishing the first one, and what are you guys kind of preparing for and looking forward to like here in the near future and stuff like that?
I think first, Jason's going to be running three or is it
3 sessions.
three sessions of a version of the real thing that is not the stories that are in the books.
Right.
We've taken that system and running through a. Can I just say what genre?
Oh, yeah, please.
A sci-fi scenario.
Oh, cool.
It's called Woodpecker from Mars, which is a Faith No More song, and it's going to be completely unrelated to what's in the books, other than the rules. So that'll be fun, and I think it's sold out, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
every single session.
I tried to get into them. I tried to get into one.
We should have made more, but
Yeah,
whatever.
we should have.
It's all
made
right.
more.
You
Yeah.
didn't. I mean,
Didn't know. Who knew?
We
You
didn't
know,
have
who
no
knew?
idea. We had created a LARP. We have it basically ready to go, but we didn't get enough registrants at Gen Con. A couple of things I think going on there. First off, we're not good promoters.
Yeah.
Secondly, I don't think people look for LARPs very much anymore. Since COVID, it has kind of gone. It's not in vogue anymore.
sure.
Yeah, it depends. It
The
depends.
vampire. I think the vampire LARPs still carry a
back a
decent
little
weight,
bit.
but those are
Yeah.
kind of like more legacy things. Like people are gonna look for when they think vampire, they're gonna look for a vampire LARP or something like
Well,
that.
and I think outside
But-
of Gen Con, they're a little more popular.
Probably.
I think it just kind of at the conventions are not as popular as they once were.
know.
It seems that way. I could be totally wrong. So
It
people fact
just
check
be,
us.
could also just be ramping back up.
Yep.
Like
Maybe.
we're especially with the policies changing this year. I suspect people are trying to policies are changed. Are we okay? I'm very curious of what next year is going to look like.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
a good-
it's taken a couple years to
Yeah.
remind people they can go outside.
Yeah.
Well, because I just
So-
did a LARP. I got asked to guest GM at a LARP a couple weekends ago, and I was surprised about how many people showed up, and I got paid for it,
Nice.
and that was super cool. So like, it's still there, but it's definitely not like quite what it used to be.
Yeah. I mean, we're never gonna get back to the mid '90s.
Oh no, you're not gonna have
gosh.
300 people at a game
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
just nuts.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. But other things that we're doing, been on a number of podcasts. We're still talking to the same folks, the community, folks like you, and some others that we've talked to. I don't know if I'm allowed to say names.
Yeah,
of other people.
absolutely.
Tabletop Journeys.
Plug away.
We are horrible at plugging everyone else except ourselves.
Yeah. Tabletop Journey is a good group of folks that we've talked to and
Definitely.
have been very supportive.
Yeah, those guys are awesome.
Yeah, we're on Games Played Badly, which is, I believe, only audio. I don't think there's video on that one. So some other podcasts out there we've talked to, great community around that. So you can find us on those. You will be able to find us on those by the time you're watching
Yeah.
this.
Cool.
Yeah. What else are we doing? We're launching another project
Yep.
early next year, which is it is fantasy setting. It's going to be rules for 5e and some other indie game systems. So
Okay.
we've got a campaign
So it's
setting.
going to be kind of a D20-ish.
It is.
system?
Well, the 5e part of it is.
Gotcha.
Then we might be do Dungeon World, which is powered by the Apocalypse.
Yep.
Oh, okay, cool.
Different version.
Nice.
Or maybe Pathfinder 2e. We haven't decided yet.
All right.
We're kicking around some.
You
I
got
like
a
it.
backer if you do 2E.
All right. Well, there you go. I've decided.
You got a backer
You get a backer. in
got a
your
backer.
head.
regardless, but
That's it.
we'll actually play it if it's 2E.
But we're also interested in looking for partnerships for that with some very specific people. If we get to talk to them about that, and they say yes,
Sure.
People that are known fantasy entities. People
Yeah.
that have written for fantasy.
What? Do we know any of those?
we're gonna try. You know?
Okay.
Right.
Like I said, it's that whole thing. You can always ask, and they can always say no.
That's it.
But it never
That's
harms to
it.
ask.
100%.
So we're gonna ask you questions, Uncle Tracy.
There you, there you go. There you
Project,
go.
We're doing something pretty similar though. We found some IP that we really liked and said, "Can we make a game out of it?"
Yeah.
And it's an artist out of the UK named Emily Hare. Her art is just gorgeous. It's very enchanted foresty or grim fairy talesy.
Okay.
So it's a lot of fun.
It's super cool.
The campaign setting is going to feel like a combination of Journey to the Center of the Earth and Alice in Wonderland and all these sort of things. It's not everything on Kickstarter right now for 5e or fantasy in general is like. It's like everyone wants to be Mork Borg now. Let's just dive into the dark and just slaughter things.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to go a different way with it. We want to invite more people to the table and say, let's play a game that's fun, maybe tell some cool stories, and be inclusive while we do it. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Well, like you guys said, I know that your Gen Con stuff is sold out. Outside of that, are you guys looking for any other? I know like Indie PopCon's going to have like a gaming area. Are you guys looking at anything like that to kind of jump in? I think that's pretty much an open gaming area too. So
Yeah.
Sure it is. Yeah.
yeah. So if you guys wanted to, I'm sure you could promote that and probably get a few people that were interested anyway.
Yeah, I don't think we looked at PopCon just yet. but
Sure.
that might be a thing we can discuss.
Yeah.
But I know that. So we got into business with some guys from World of Game Design,
Okay.
and so through them we'll be at a few other conventions as well. I'll be joining them at PAX. I believe it's PAX East. It's whichever one happens in Philadelphia.
That's East, yeah.
Yeah, PAX East, and then beyond that, for next year, when more of them come around, they have a sign up, and we can, we'll be at conventions, and people will find us not just at Gen Con, and those guys have been great
Yeah.
so far to work with too. Like
The
it's,
brands are World of Game Design and Geeks Can't.
yeah, Geeks Can't is our podcast, which will be on there also.
Yeah. Good group of folks there.
Definitely.
Partnering with them.
Definitely.
We're also going to be present I'm a member of the Indie Game Developers Network.
Okay.
They have a booth at Gen Con every year. You see a lot Masks, A New Generation is always there. Brendan Conway. It's another Powered by the Apocalypse. They've got a ton of titles. John Wick has done some stuff under their banner, I believe.
We're big fans of Fiasco.
Oh, yeah, Fiasco's-
Morningstar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So,
I'll be hands out honest with you. Like from the story side, when you approached me about this, the first thing I thought of was Fiasco, and like I kind of came from that perspective with this.
yeah, there's a lot of it there,
So yeah,
for sure. Yeah, so we're going to be present at IGDN for at least this con and probably some others in the future as well.
Cool.
World of Game Design, IGDN, those are the booths we'll be at periodically.
All right.
Awesome.
I
Well,
like it.
as we're finishing up here and Don finishes writing down his established fact, I'll put a reminder out there that you can find the established facts at PopCon Indy. And breaking news, we will be returning to PopCon Indy with the Never Ending Dungeon on the Saturday of PopCon. So please keep an eye out for more information regarding that, both on our website and PopCon's website. Of course, we'll be promoting whatever we can for our Real Thing folks here for the Angel Dust and King for a Day backer kit that's coming up soon. Really looking forward to being a part of that. We will be at Gen Con mostly as attendees, but we're going to try and do some interviews. We will hopefully be doing our fun story time with Tracy Hickman the Wednesday before as well, which we'll get that out as soon as we can. And other than that, also continue watching out for content for our stable podcast for the pro wrestling stuff, because there's a ton going on there. So I think I've promoted about everything I possibly can, Don, while you continue writing.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much. I know Piercy, you're with us pretty consistently, hanging out with us all the time.
Yeah,
So, Ward, you are welcome to come and hang out with us again anytime if you want to promote or if you just want to talk more games. And for sure, I know that Joshy and I are super excited. And now that we know Katie is just throwing money at you guys for whatever reason,
Make sure there's a tip jar.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do.
pass the hat.
if you just want to give us money,
That's it. But you guys are definitely anytime if you ever want to do like an actual play or anything like that, we would love to help out with that sort of thing. And you definitely have our support. Yes, sir.
there is a level that people can back where
I saw that. I'm trying to figure out how I think I might sell a car.
well,
You might get that
It's
much.
not. I didn't say it was. I just might want to get rid of one,
Yeah.
and I'll
Okay,
just
yeah.
The
put
car
the
he's trying to
proceeds-
sell, that's about the right.
Hey, you shut your mouth. You shut your mouth. I could probably part it out for about that. Yeah, but yeah, absolutely. I did
but there's
see
one
that.
there's one
I
people
did
can
see
back if they want to do
$350?
a camping with some
It is.
yeah
I think it's $350
it's gonna
for
be
that
at least
tier.
8 sessions.
At least
probably going to be more like 12
10,
to 16.
12, yeah, probably,
to get
for
all
both.
the way through the Real Thing.
Well.
yeah
For $350, that's a steal.
Well,
That's
and you
really
get
cool.
you get one of everything.
right you get stuff too,
Yeah.
not just you get all the stuff and us.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Hopefully.
All right. So I'm going to start a backer
won't
kit
suck.
so that
Yeah,
I
it
can
won't.
back at that level.
Yep.
Just keep
Back
your eyes
Don
open.
backing us.
Back Don backing us. That's it. Maybe I'll put a GoFundMe on Facebook and see what happens.
Perfect.
Do those things work anymore?
don't
Anyway,
know.
I don't know.
While you're there, go check out the Wendy's Facebook account. That's just a side
Oh, it's
plug.
yeah.
It's nuts.
All right.
It's the
Yeah,
I
the
just saw it today.
vibes. Yeah, the
All right.
vibes
Okay.
are insane on the Wendy's
really
Facebook.
weird.
I'll have
Okay,
to check
all right.
that out.
They're the
All
only
right.
people winning at Facebook right now.
Weird. Huh, okay.
All right. Well, with that being said, thank you guys so much for joining us on episode 244 of The Established Facts, the Gotta Have Faith
Yes.
episode of
George Michael.
The Established Facts. So on our last episode, and actually, this is from episode 242, because I realized that I didn't have the fact on 243 because we were at PopCon Louisville.
Yeah.
So I'm just retconning. This is the fact from episode 242 that we now have evidence that the hottest and brightest dumpster fires can forge new roads to our passions. Go back and watch our recap of basically the dumpster fire that happened in January with a lot of the role-playing systems and things like that. But that being said, with episode 244, we have established that you don't have to be a king for a day to back this. However, if you don't, you will definitely be a fool forever. Thank you guys so much for joining us on episode 244 of The Established Facts, and we will check you later.
Bye.
See ya.